Yo, what's going on, guys? Today I'm going to be giving you my spoiler review for Scream 2022, or you can just call it Scream 5. It's basically Scream 5. That's honestly what I'm just probably going to call it from now on. Of course, I did my spoiler-free review recently, which I definitely go in depth with what I can go in depth with. That is non-spoiler related things. I go through my positives and my negatives, and I give a rating out of 10, a final score, as I always do on my reviews. But for this spoiler review, we're just gonna talk about like everything, like all the spoilers, all the big things that I feel are necessary to talk about. It's more of a unstructured sort of a review, not really going in specific order. I'm just gonna talk about the things I want to talk about that I couldn't talk about in that video. It's not gonna be like giving a rating or anything like that, or specifically going into positives and negatives. It's just everything I can think of that I want to talk about. So let's just do it. So I'm editing this video right now, and I kind of forgot to talk about this, so I'm just going to throw this in real quick. But what I thought was really brilliant about this movie is in the trailers, they kind of showed this opening scene that we all assumed would be the opening, which it was the opening, with Jenna Ortega's character. Her name was Tara, and she was being attacked by Ghostface. And because of what we know of prior movies, we all assumed she was going to die here. And she doesn't die. And the reason why I think this is so brilliant is because a lot of people tell me, obviously I wasn't around in 1996, so I didn't know that this was the case, but because Drew Barrymore was going to be in that film, and she was a very big actress at the time, everyone was like, oh, she's going to be the main character, she's going to star in it, and then she dies in the opening scene, which was one of the most surprising things for people back in the original Scream. And I love how this film does the complete opposite, where we all think Jenna Ortega is going to die in the opening scene, but she doesn't. I don't know, I thought that was really brilliant. Just want to throw that in there. The first big thing, obviously, that we got to talk about is the killer reveal. That is obviously the big thing that pretty much all these movies have, that everyone is always excited. Who is it going to be? Who is it going to be? And I mentioned this in my spoiler-free review that I was a little bit underwhelmed by the killer reveal. Not that it wasn't surprising, because it was surprising, but I didn't love the motivation behind it or the choice of characters for it either. It wasn't like there was any big plot holes or anything. There was definitely not any plot holes that bothered me with this situation, because they explained everything pretty well, like why, of course, again, spoilers, so if you haven't seen it, I'm sure you should be gone by now, but let me just make sure. Of course, it was Amber and Richie, and they kind of explained why these characters why they met up, and it was understandable. I was like, okay, that makes sense. And it makes sense, I guess, what they're doing. There's no like weird, plot hole behind it. Like it makes sense. I just don't like it. I don't like how it's another, oh, let's just try to create another movie thing, which is very similar to a lot of other killers we had, where they're just trying to create more material for these stab movies. Or not all the time is it exactly that, but there's a lot of times where it's related to that, where they want to make some big event happen so they can try to either become famous in terms of the fourth movie's case, but in this one, it's not they want to be famous, it's them wanting more material for these movies to save the Stab franchise, because they're really big Stab fans, which of course kind of focuses on the toxic fandom part of horror communities, which, I've never seen anyone go that crazy with it, but that of course was what they were going for. And I do like that idea, but I kind of wish there was a different motivation for at least one of them, because it felt like both their motivations, Amber and Richie, were kind of the same, and I didn't like that. I think they should have had something where one of the characters had a bigger vendetta against another character. Maybe there was a relation to someone that kind of affected it, and then the other one could just be the crazy toxic fan that just wants to save the Stab franchise. I would have liked that a lot more, but I didn't necessarily like the way it was handled here, where it was really just two people who just wanted to save the Stab franchise. And I was like, okay, I mean, that's not the most interesting motivation in the world for these killers. They've always had, in my opinion, more interesting reveals that have just been more exciting. It's not the worst reveal, I don't think. I think Scream 3's reveal had the biggest problems surrounding it, but I still probably enjoyed it even more, to be honest. So maybe this is the worst reveal to me. I don't know. It's definitely not the least surprising, because it was surprising as hell. I did not see that coming at all. Not one part of me thought it would be Richie at all. Maybe for one part of the film I did, but they kind of changed that frequently. And I know having two killers kind of makes it that way. And there was a little part of me, look, hear me out. This would have been probably ridiculous for 95% of people because they would have to explain it. It would make no sense. But there was rumors of this. There was rumors of Stu returning. And when they revealed it to be Amber as one of the killers, because that was Amber's house, at least I'm pretty sure that was Amber's house that they were at, which of course was Stu's old house. I was like, okay, well, Amber's living at Stu's old house. Maybe there's a connection there. I don't know what there would be. I don't know if there'd be a family relation. I think family relation would be kind of dumb. Some other connection where Stu is still alive. I don't know how they could play that off. It would be kind of a retcon, I guess, but we never saw him die. We saw the TV fall on him, right? If I'm not mistaken. I feel like he could have lived from that. Maybe they could have explained something like, oh, they didn't carry away his body, or they thought they did, or something ridiculous like that. I don't know why, but for a second I was like, if my man Stu shows up as the second killer, I will freak out. And that would have actually been insane. It would have been probably hard to explain. Maybe I have to watch the first one again. Maybe he did. Maybe it was certain he was dead. I don't remember, but I don't know. I was thinking that for some reason in the theater. I would be like, how cool would that be? But what they gave us, like I said, I'm not crazy about the reveal. Again, it was surprising. I like that, but again, it's another one of the boyfriends, and it's just like, I don't know about that. You know, I get what they were going for, and it makes sense, but it's not my favorite. It definitely held the movie back a little bit because these reveals are huge. These reviews are massive. So yeah, that's one of the biggest. Like I said, I couldn't cover that in my spoiler-free review because it was like, I don't want to talk too much about it because I see way too many people doing that in their spoiler-free reviews for videos where they don't spoil things outright, but you can tell they're spoiling things. They're like, oh, you know, I can't tell you who the killer was, but it was very underwhelming because this killer didn't get much screen time. And then when you start going on and on about it, it's like, okay, well, you're basically spoiling it at that point. You don't have to say who it is, but if you're talking about it that much, it's gonna be very clear to any person who has an intelligence IQ above, like, I don't know, 2. Intelligence IQ, it would just be an IQ. You wouldn't put the word intelligence behind, whatever. I originally was gonna say, like, Amber as a character, we didn't really get to learn much about before, so I feel like that was kind of a negative where it was like, oh, maybe we could have seen more of her and maybe I would have been more invested in this reveal. But to be fair, all the Scream movies have kind of done that, besides 1 and 4, but I guess it's only 2 of them then. Scream 2 and 3 definitely did that, where the killers were characters we didn't really see that often, so it was definitely not like we were, you know, learning a lot about them as we went along or anything, so the reveal was like, oh my god, that character. But this one especially, Amber, was like definitely not my radar, only because I was just like, we didn't really get much of her, to be honest. Richie we saw a lot of. I loved Richie's character, actually. Like, I was really like, this dude's actually a fun character in this movie, and I was hoping it was just gonna be that, you know, boyfriend who's actually a good one for finally a good boyfriend. But no, they followed with the same path as the original, where no, the boyfriend is, yeah, okay, a psycho. And I don't know, like I said, not my favorite. But then we get into other spoilers, which I would say would be the other big spoiler is, of course, Dewey dying. Now, I mentioned in my spoiler-free review that I liked how they handled legacy characters except for a few things. I'm not mad they killed off Dewey. I'm not. I'm actually thought it was very fitting and it played off very well. It was very upsetting and it was an emotional scene and it was kind of something I wanted them to do. I said I wanted them to kill off one of the 3, or maybe even 2. Definitely not 3, but definitely at least maybe. And now maybe you have. If you're gonna kill off 2, I feel like you have to finish the last one off because it would be like kind of upsetting not to. But I always thought, yes, if they're gonna kill off one of them, it's probably gonna be Dewey. It was either Dewey or Gale. Not one part of me thought it would be Sydney ever, but I really did feel Dewey's probably gonna die. And only thing I have against how they did it is leading up to it, I felt like the situation was a little iffy because it was like he was dying because of his own mistakes almost. I didn't like that. Like, first of all, he missed an easy shot against Ghostface there. And then he got bested by Ghostface, which, no offense to Amber, because it was Amber in that moment who was Ghostface. No offense to her, but she's this really tiny girl. I just didn't buy the fact that she was going to be able to, like, she basically, I can't remember exactly how this scene went, but she put up a pretty damn good fight against Dewey, and I don't believe she would have. I mean, not that women aren't capable, because they are, but this is a really tiny little girl against an ex-cop. So I didn't believe that. Whatever. So in that moment, I was like, that's got to be some, definitely a bigger or, buffer Ghostface. Whether it was woman or man, it was going to be somewhat bigger at least. But no, it was literally probably the tiniest girl in this entire film. So I don't know. That was just something where it was like, this whole situation led to this. And then he gets distracted by his phone, and then that's how he dies. And I'm like, I would have preferred his death to be a little more grand than that. Maybe like saving Gale in some situation. I don't know. Something like that. And another thing is he never even got to say anything to Sydney. This almost felt like The Force Awakens. Spoiler for Star Wars fans. But it was kind of like that where Han Solo, we never got to see him interact with Luke Skywalker. Almost felt like that. Like Sydney was the Luke Skywalker. We never got to see Dewey interact with, of course, Sydney. He did get a couple scenes with Gale, which I guess Gale is like the Princess Leia in the situation. A lot of similarities to The Force Awakens for some reason. I don't know. It's interesting how that played out. When it comes to Gale and Sydney, I actually do like how they handled them, especially towards the end of the film. I thought they were very, very good in the finale portion of the film at the old house during the party, but they were definitely absent from like a lot of the first two acts, which I was okay with, because just like, The Force Awakens, which I keep mentioning, and even in some cases Halloween 2018, they're legacy characters. They're not meant to be the main characters of this film. They're not meant to do that. But then again, I feel like the promotional material made it feel like they were going to be the main characters, which I feel like is what my issue and maybe some other people's issues will be with their missed opportunities with these characters, because they weren't as present in this film as we maybe thought they would. I think the promotional material, although it makes sense for marketing, you want to get people in the seats, and they're more likely to come back if those characters are presented more in the marketing. But then it made us feel like they were the main characters, and I thought that going in. I honestly did not know that they were going to be just like side characters almost in this film. I thought they were going to be the three main characters, just like they have been for the other four. But they really weren't here. Well, I guess the fourth one was kind of the one they started to make the other cast members more intertwined into the film than the main three. But then again, they were definitely more present in that than they were in this one. That's all I'll say. Like, they were not in this film as much as I thought they would be. That's all I gotta say. Not a big negative, not a big problem, but just I feel like they could have done something better with that, maybe. I don't know. But maybe that was the marketing's fault, I guess. I don't know. But then again, you got to get people in the seats. So it's kind of like it's a mixed bag there. I don't know. It's not a big deal, though. Deputy Hicks, she also died, and I thought that was a well-done death scene. Her and her son died in that scene, and I did not see that coming at all, where he was tricking her to come back, and he was actually not going after the son right away. He just waited for her to come around the corner and stabbed her. That was a really good scene. And then when he kills Hicks's, well, I guess it was Wes Hicks. Was it Wes or was it Well? It was Wes, I think. And that was really cool how they paid homage to Wes Craven there. I literally did not realize that until after the film, when they did the For Wes thing at the end of the film. I didn't realize that. I did not realize that at all, because they threw the whole party. They had the For Wes sign. It was all Wes Craven. That's really what it was. I mean, a couple names related to other people, like the main character Samantha. Her last name was Carpenter, obviously John Carpenter. But I thought that was awesome how they had Wes Hicks. I didn't realize that his name was Wes. I was like, I didn't even think of Wes Craven for some reason. And then I'm like, wait a minute. The party, Wes said For Wes, and then it didn't hit me until the end of the film when they said For Wes, and I was like, what do you mean For Wes? Like, why is it that character was not that important? Like, why are we saying For Wes? And I'm like, oh, Wes Craven. Oh, I'm an idiot. Like, I thought that was really neat, and that was a really nice touch. But Wes's character, his death was my favorite death in the entire movie. He was such a good kill. It was so simple, but fucking brutal. When Ghostface was slowly sticking the knife through the side of his neck, that was one of the most gruesome kills in the Scream franchise, because it was slow. You could tell it was painful, and it looked really good. I don't know what they were using there. It was definitely some practical effects. That was definitely not fully CGI, because that shit looked good, and was definitely my favorite kill in the movie. But even maybe even better than that, now that I'm thinking about it, were the deaths of the ghost faces of Amber and of course of Richie. Amber's was awesome because she gets a couple of bullets, I guess, in the chest, and then she falls onto the fire and she's lit up into flames because she had the alcohol poured on her from before. That was awesome. And then fucking Samantha goes just psycho on Richie, and I was like, holy shit, because she was like, this, don't fuck with this, the daughter of a serial killer or whatever, because of course she was daughter of Billy Loomis, which was an interesting twist. I was okay with that. I didn't see a problem with that. I was like, okay, that's cool. And she just goes to town on him. I'm like, damn, this is insane, like not what I was expecting. And they put a shot in his head, and I'm like, they said, oh, we got to make sure they're dead, because they always come back. And every other movie has always had that one little scene where one of the persons does come back. They do. And I'm like, in this case, I'm like, how can they do that now? Because the other girl was burnt to a crisp. She's definitely dead. But no, she comes out screaming while she's like got a whole burnt face. I was like, fuck. That was one of my favorite parts of the movie right there. That was really cool. And then it ends with the same shot that I believe the first movie ended with, which was just really nice. A nice touch. This whole movie is a love letter to the fans of the Scream franchise, and I think it definitely was a success. I loved it. I gave it an 8.7 out of 10 on my previous video, despite having a few flaws, like I said, with me not loving the whole reveal of the killers, and me also having a few issues with some missed opportunities here and there, and some issues where there was a couple scenes shot awkwardly, I guess you could say. That's all I gotta say. That's all I gotta say for Scream 2022. If you want to see a ranking video of all 5 Scream movies, let me know. I will definitely provide that, because I would like to talk about all 5 of these movies and put them in order from my favorite or my least favorite to my favorite. So I will see you guys in the next video. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Peace out.